This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all.
Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and today I want to mostly speak about a little bit of Bitcoin news. Then I've got a bunch of charts that are all kind of pointing towards higher Bitcoin prices, assuming people can have just a little bit more patience. We'll check in on some charts and see what's going on, but spoiler alert, not a great deal is happening. We're just kind of patiently waiting for some cycle lows in the not too distant future. And in the meantime, it's just about staying out the way of the trades, I think, letting the market do what it's going to do. That old adage of gradually, then suddenly keeps coming to mind, and I believe we're actually in that suddenly phase at the moment because we're seeing more and more of these public companies add Bitcoin to their treasury by the day. Here's another example for you. Okay, another company. This list just continues to grow day in, day out. The likes of Sailor and Metaplanet et al., they continue to just buy more and more and more as well. And I believe a lot of this is contributing to the Bitcoin exchange balance in green here dwindling over time. Okay, this thing is falling off of a cliff here. And it begs the question, doesn't it? How long until we actually see a supply shock? I think a lot of OTC traded Bitcoin is contributing to the sideways price, but you can see for sure here, there is fewer and fewer Bitcoin to go around, and that usually means they've got to move the price significantly in one direction or the other in order to free up more Bitcoins. The IBIT ETF, BlackRock's ETF, now holds over 700,000 Bitcoin. So again, more and more demand here and a finite supply means I think we should be very, very close to some explosive moves. And on top of that, over 80% of the Bitcoin that will ever exist is currently being hodled. There's only been 2 times in Bitcoin's 15-year history that this percentage was higher. One time was at 43k before a $30,000 impulse to 73k. And the other time was at 58k before we printed a $50,000 impulse to over 105k. When the majority of Bitcoin's total circulating supply is cornered by diamond hands, the price tends to move up aggressively at any hint of new demand. Now that excess supply has found its way back into the hands of long-term holders, and with Bitcoin treasury companies leading the way, the next impulse is imminent. And Cred here is speculating that the next one will also likely be even bigger than the last two, which is a $50,000 plus move to the upside. So the big question is, are you ready for 150k plus Bitcoin? You can see here the long-term holder supply getting ready to roll over, which is usually synonymous with big impulses to the upside in the price of Bitcoin. Fitting in with this theme, there is still about half a year left in this current Bitcoin 4-year cycle for the bull phase, and we know that Bitcoin has a history in this final quadrant of the cycle of putting in the most amount of price appreciation. So assuming that we can see something like that again, I do still believe we are sat right around the corner from the fireworks zone. And Decode here showing another similar idea. This is the total crypto market cap. Note down the bottom, we are very close now to ticking bullish and seeing momentum shift strongly in the opposite direction. Again, should be conducive to higher prices walking forward. So I guess the message here is pretty simple. Whilst, yes, the price is kind of chopping sideways at the moment, whilst it seems a little bit like not much is happening, under the hood, many of these metrics are improving, and most of them, as you can see, are pointing towards much higher prices for the rest of the year. And I suspect once it finally gets going, it's going to leave a lot of people in the dust. I think this move is going to be extremely quick and violent to the upside, and will probably look something like this from Gert here. I still maintain we are in this final fifth here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on our way up. I believe this whole thing is 1 into 2, so this should be 3 into 4 and then 5. And again, Bitcoin does tend to cover a lot of ground very quickly when it gets going, so I don't think anyone should be discounting this idea. I also think that sentiment in the background is pretty negative, given that Bitcoin is literally trading at the highest weekly close as of the last weekly candle that we have ever seen in its entire history, which tells me the sentiment does match for us to see a final push to the upside, something akin to this right here. Meanwhile, the stock market is probably getting dangerously close now to having a correction into a daily cycle low. The S&P just traded above its upper Bollinger Band for the past 8 days in a row. The last time it did this was July 24, right here, and then it ended up having a big correction. Now, I should note, I don't think we're going to get a 10% correction here. I think what we're probably going to get is kind of more like a reversion to the mean in the middle of the Bollinger Band's daily cycle low, and then I think it should be party time from there. And finally, before we head into some charts and check on the TA and the live positions, note how the trueflation has now dropped down to 1.75. So again, I think this here at the hard right edge speaks to yet another lower high and continuation of disinflation. So again, the Camel Crew well on top of this. If you know, you know. So heading into the charts, like I said, it seems like we're getting relatively close now to a daily cycle low. Today will be day 29. We'll be looking for a daily cycle low sometime around the 23rd of July. I also note that same cycle low date aligns with Trump's new crypto bill or something like that, so probably will be some sort of narrative to help drive the upside out of the upcoming cycle low. I'm expecting this trend line right here to be violated short term into that daily cycle low window, and the reason I've got this one sat here is because I'm going to use this trend line to connect wherever that daily cycle low forms, and then we'll set that as our next angle of attack. Gold looks a little bit heavy and is making me wonder if what we're going to do here is have to spend the next daily cycle low declining, only to then produce a lower low and mark that as the weekly cycle low. Ideally, I don't want to see this daily cycle low fail. I think it would just make our lives a lot easier to deal with. But the reason I say that about the weekly cycle is if I pop this thing onto the weekly time frame, you can see the bracelet down the bottom hasn't quite confirmed the new weekly cycle lows in just yet. So we'll keep taking it one day at a time. Silver and the miners seem to be continuing to agree that this is probably not going to fail. The SILJ position, the ad we've got, okay, this is still open from the level 3 members section. You can see this doesn't really believe that we're about to fail the cycle either, at least not yet. So if we can get a good push to new all-time highs, then I think we could talk about moving stops up in the level 3 members section. But overall, it seems like it's going according to plan. And Bitcoin, again, just kind of hanging around sideways, isn't it? Working on a breakout, perhaps, really needs to push off from my perspective and from a cycle perspective if we're going to be able to rule out the sideways into that cycle low window. But with a little bit more patience based on everything I've shown you today, I do still believe that regardless of whether we go sideways or down for a little while longer or straight up from here, we are ultimately going to see a very violent upside push in the not too distant future. So that's it from me. I'll be back tomorrow. If you're a level 3 member, look out for the midweek members update for you guys. I got a couple of collabs today and tomorrow evening I'm recording, so look out for those as well in the not too distant future. And other than that, have a fantastic rest of the week. All the best. Cheers. Bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see, rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame, sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel